Hi, this is Dice Kimura. I am an online guitar teacher, and today I'm doing a video slash demo review of this Snark tuner. Okay, it's an awesome tuner. If I turn it on for you, that's how it looks when it's on, and it's great. You just clip it to your headstock, like so, and I'll show you. See if I can turn this around. Show you how this works. So basically, when I play the note, you see, you want it to light up in the green. Okay. G string, B. So it's a little flat. So that's how it works. That's it. Then you just turn it off. This is a great tuner. I have like 3 of them. I've got a couple of these red ones. These red ones are my favorite. I believe they're color coded to do different tasks. And some of them are chromatic. Some of them are for all instruments. I think the black ones are for all instruments like guitar, bass, and violin. So if you're using a different stringed instrument, you can get a black one. I like the red ones because they're purely chromatic. I use it on guitar, bass, and ukulele. And I also use them for alternate tunings, like open tuning and drop D tuning. And today I was working with a student doing a drop C sharp tuning, doing it all with the Snark tuner. And that's why I prefer chromatic. If you know what you're doing when it comes to how to tune a guitar, in terms of the names of the notes, E, A, D, G, B, E, and you know how the notes move in terms of like A goes to A sharp, or if you go flat, you go to G sharp. You know, if you can understand that stuff, you should get a chromatic tuner. If you don't understand that stuff and you just want to get playing as soon as possible, you could get a non-chromatic tuner, like I believe one of these a bona fide guitar tuner. But long term, I don't suggest that because you'll grow more as a musician with a chromatic tuner, in my opinion. So how does it work? You just clip the sucker on, and you turn it on, and you're in business. Okay, you can even leave it on. One of the bass players in my bands actually leaves it on, and he turns it back this way. So instead of turning it this way like I just did, he'll actually turn it back this way, and then he'll turn it this way. So if I can turn the camera so you can see what I see. See, he'll actually be playing, and every note that he plays on the bass, it'll light up and show him the name of that particular note, which is kind of cool. Okay. I just want to point out a few things. I have it set right now to vibe. Let me focus here. Vibe. You can see it. Can you see it? Hold on. There it is. Vibe or mic. Okay. This is actually a very important little detail. I like it always on vibe. Okay. Vibe means vibrate, and it picks up the vibrations from the instrument as opposed to using the mic. Why is that important? I'm often not tuning in a silent situation. I'm often tuning with lots of instruments and people talking and all kinds of noises. And I want to pick up the sound straight from the tuner. That's why I put it on vibe. Okay. That's the problem, by the way, that people want to tune with their cell phones and they have like an app in their phone. Those apps tend to be very accurate, which is good. They also tend to be so hypersensitive that it picks up any sound at all in the room and throws off the sound of what you're trying to do when you're trying to tune it. So it can really backfire if you're in a crowded room, or even in a room amongst a few people or somebody watching TV at a low volume. It's done. You're destroyed. So in absolute emergency, I've used that before a gig to tune the app. And I think I had to go take my guitar into the bathroom and try to tune it there with the app, believe it or not, to get total isolation because there were so many people in the room I was about to perform in. Other interesting points about this tuner. It has a pitch calibrator Okay, and it allows you to, let me see. So if I hit the pitch calibrator, it lets me go to 440. Let me make it light up again. Hold on. And then I can calibrate that. So there it is. So I made a 442, back to 440. What is that, you ask? Well, 440 is 440 vibrations per second. Okay, so 440 hertz, it's called. That's a technical physics term, meaning that if you take an object, like any object, like let's say this Blistex right here, and I move it 440 times per second, it will eventually sound like this. So this thing will go like, and so what sound is just movement that's quick. That's sound. You take any still object and move it quickly, it'll have a sound and it'll ultimately have a pitch. Okay, and that's why like a bullet can zing by and have like a high whine, like that's a moving pitch. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but that's what 440 means. Now if you take 440, you'll see the tuning fork in the picture. Let me hit it again. See the tuning fork right there on the left? That means concert pitch. 440 is concert pitch. And so what is concert pitch? That's basically a global standard that everybody has agreed is going to be how you tune an A note. So the A is 440. I've been in situations where we tuned to 442. I've even been in a situation where we've tuned to 444. So in order to do that, you would go from 440, go up to 442, see, or perhaps even 444. I recommend for most people to never do that. You can also go flatter than 440. You can go to 438 or whatever. So what are we talking about here? Well, oops, dropped it. Excuse me. But anyway, basically, the whole world recognizes A to be 440. And at some point, they figured this out because at every spot that people would get together and play with, they would have to tune to each other and maybe even argue and decide who they're going to tune to, you know? And maybe somebody brought a tuning fork. This is like maybe in the 60s, you know, people have a tuning fork on stage. I've seen a video of Jimi Hendrix, you know, with a tuning fork on stage. Let me see if I can find my tuning fork real quick. Anyway, I grew up playing with tuning forks. I'll get into that in a second. But the tuning fork is 440. But then at some point, everybody agreed. They were like, wait a minute, we have to come up with something that's like a bona fide concert pitch so that we can all agree is what we're going to call A. And then we can all just tune to A. So what is the advantage of that? Well, the advantage is if you tune to the bona fide 440A and I tune to 440A, and the bass players tune to 440A, and the violin players tune to 440A, and the cello players tune to 440A, and so on. Everybody's tuned to 440. And then we also have a piano tuned to 440A. And we all just show up and bring our instruments and show up to the show, and we just play. And tune-up is very quick. You just need to get to 440, and then you tune. If you don't have a bona fide set way of tuning your guitar, everybody is relative or slightly off or tuned to their friend's piano yesterday, or you know what I'm saying? And so you start to have all these different slight variances that get really annoying live, and it becomes a real problem to be in tune. And you'll notice that problem if you listen to some old records, the band's slightly out of tune, or just the guitar is a little out of tune. It's very annoying. So it's really handy to have a 440. Now you ask, why would it allow me to go past 440 if 440 is the standard? Why couldn't I go to 442? Well, I'm so glad you asked that question. The reality is sometimes because everybody is playing at 440, and right now I'm recording this video in 2016, your whole life, if you, let's say, are alive now watching this video in 2016, I'm assuming your whole life you've heard music that is probably at 440 concert pitch. And so once in a while, somebody will you come along like a guitar or a violin. Let's say the whole in a violin, the whole um, ensemble is tuned to 440, and just the violin is tuned to 442 or 444. It's just a hair sharp, and because it's a teeny bit sharp, it sounds very new and refreshing and exotic to the ear. Your ear has heard perfect 440 its whole life. So if somebody comes along and starts playing just slightly above that, it sounds great. It sounds refreshing and new and energetic and vibrant. Conversely, if you're a little flat, if you're like 438 or 436, it sounds kind of sour, even though you can't quite put your finger on why it sounds sour. Okay, but it's something that subliminally you are doing. You're judging that sound, and you have this internal perfect pitch, a virtuoso ear, if you will, that subliminally is telling you what that frequency is, believe it or not. And that's why some people want to be slightly higher or lower, even though I've never really been personally in a playing situation where anybody on stage needed to have that. So that's pretty particular and peculiar, if you will. You probably don't need to pay attention to that or worry about it if you're watching this video. But the tuner can do 440 or 442, 444, whatever. I think it can go to like 448 even. Next, it can do another cool feature, which, let me access it. There it is. Okay. All right. So, wait a sec. Now, you can set this up. Let me just turn off the 440 thing. Oh, okay. To turn off the 440 thing, once you engage it, you just hit the silver button. So this back button over here turns it on, and then I hit this silver button and it turns it off. Okay, and then there's these arrows, these up and down arrows, and I can go down, and you see that little thing just appeared, and I go down again. Now I got two of them. Those are flats, and I go again. That's another flat, and then I go a fourth time. That's another flat, and that's it. And after I go four flats, it actually starts over. Or once I go flat, I'm going to hit this arrow to go flat down. Then if I hit the up arrow, notice it went away. So I can decide to go triple flat and then hit three ups. 1, 2, 3, and they're gone. Okay? Pay close attention. If you have a flat arrow, it means everything you do is going to be a half step flat. And that could be a serious problem, because instead of tuning, it'll say A, but it'll give you A flat, for instance. Why in the world would you ever want that, you may ask? Well, let's say you're tuned to standard in guitar, and it's E, A, D, G, B, E, and then someone wants to play Nirvana, let's say. Like today, I was playing with a student, heart-shaped box. It was drop D, but then a half step down, so it was drop C sharp. Okay, so it was like C sharp and then G sharp and then C sharp and then F sharp and then A sharp and then D sharp. Are you tracking with me? It went from drop D in standard to then a half step down. If you're not able to know, if you don't know like I just did, like exactly what those notes are, C sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, A sharp, and D sharp, if you don't know that off the top of your head, it's really handy to have a tuner that you just hit a button and it makes everything one flat, a half step flat. And that's what that is. Be real careful though that you don't leave that on. You just need to be very aware of what your tuner is trying to tell you to do when it tells you to go sharp or flat. Okay? And that's it with this tuner. There's a few more things I want to bring up though. I've used a bunch of these. If it starts glitching out on you, it's probably not broken. You probably just need to replace the battery, okay? Let me see if I can find my replacement batteries. CR2032. I get mine off Amazon, okay? They're these little silver disc deals. How do you replace a battery? And you need to know this when you get it too. By the way, these things, they come apart like this. Let me do this without breaking it, actually. My daughter loves to pull mine apart, and then she'll hide the thing under the couch, and you can't find it. But anyway, there's a little latch here. When you buy these new, they come with a plastic cover over the battery to preserve the battery life. So you need to be aware of that. They're going to come just like this. just like this, but the battery will be inside of a plastic cover. A lot of my guitar students, they've bought this tuner at my suggestion, and then they go home and try to use it, and they say it's broken, it won't turn on, and then they bring it to class, and I just take out the little piece of plastic, and it works fine. So let that maybe help you out if that's your problem. So I'm just gonna push that sucker back in, and it's obviously lighting up, telling me that it's working. Okay, and it needs to be connected here because this is the reader. So the guitar clips to the headstock, and there's a vibration that it senses, and then it reports that into this piece, into here. So in order to connect this, you just shove it in there like so, and we are good to go. Okay, so I've seen some of these have a pulse where you have a metronome pulse. The red one doesn't, but I've seen that in some of these other ones, like the blue ones. They come in the color black, red, and blue, and even white. The pulse thing is a gimmick. I think it's a complete waste of money and technology. It's just ridiculous. You're not going to look at that stinking pulse while you're playing. Give me a break. So I don't mess with it. A little history on tuners. By the way, this is great. You can just, you know why I like this is you can show up to a gig and you can turn your volume off and clip this to a headstock and have totally silent tuning, which is a huge advantage, by the way, as opposed to tuning by ear or even tuning with a foot pedal. So I'm being, like, these tuners just came out, like, in the last, like, couple of years, really, like, the last 3 years, I want to say, 2-3 years, and they're cheap. They're like $15 on Amazon. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a link down below in this description of this video. You can just buy it off there. But tuners used to be really expensive. Okay, so take a walk with me down memory lane. Right here, I have a tuner. Okay, here it is. This is a Boss TU2, which is pretty old. I also use a TU3 on my stage rig. This is about, now it's about $100. These tuners used to be $120 when they first came out, I remember. And I have bought a lot of them in my lifetime. These are floor pedal tuners. They're silent tuning, they're expensive, they're clumsy. It also disrupts the signal chain with one signal. So now you have to buy another adapter, another patch cable. There's another space in your board for a tuner. And it's about at least $100. If you include the price of the gold patch cable and the AC adapter, you might be looking at more like $130 or whatever. That price might be lower now. These tuners are making the old ones obsolete, and they're bringing down the price to try to maybe just keep them competitive. I also use a TU3 on my bigger rig. I remember when I used to use the GT15 by Boss, this big old honking thing. You have to carry that sucker around wherever you go, and it would have like an input or a mic, and you got to choose it. And if you drop it a few times, it's no longer accurate because the quartz moved. And so we had those forever. And before, because I started playing, I've been playing guitar now 30 years this year. When I started playing guitar, and I'm really starting to sound like an old man now, but when I started playing guitar back in 1986, all I had was a tuning fork, okay, no joke, and a piano. I could go to my sister's room, her practice room, and she had a piano. I knew where to find the A, and I would boom, play the A, and I would blink it with my guitar, and I would kind of go by ear, or I would tune with the tuning fork, and I'd bite it between my teeth, or I'd put it like on the wood and hear it. Believe it or not, this is true, people. A lot of you young bucks, you don't realize that tuning used to be really difficult. You had to find someone that could tune your guitar. And then you had to carefully take that sucker home and not knock it out of tune. So, yeah, I used to use tuning forks. I've been in the studio where they're using strobe tuners, and those are very accurate. But these are just amazing. I've had even smaller ones. Dario made this tuner. It's like seriously the size smaller than my thumbnail. And I got one. And I tried it, and you just leave it on your neck. You just put it on there and never think about it again. The problem is it's not that accurate, so I took mine off, and now I lost it. I can't find it. But anyway, I just really want to encourage you to get yourself a Snark. Everybody should have at least one of these, if not 3 or 4. I think I have like 3 or 4 of them lying around somewhere. They're great. I use them for my ukulele. I play my guitar, my bass. My daughter loves to play with it because it lights up, and then she loses them, so then I have to buy more. But anyway, the link is below. If you have any questions on how to use it, just comment, and I'll reply and give you my best answer. Okay, hopefully that helps you out. See you at the next video. Thanks for watching.